If you're listening to this in early June, school just ended, or it's about to. And there's this moment that happens right after the last day where you finally exhale, like actually exhale. And for a second, it feels like everything is going to slow down. And then the camp drop-off schedule starts. Your kid needs to be in 3 different places on 3 different days, and the work you pushed aside during the last chaotic weeks of school is still sitting there waiting, mocking you. And somewhere in the first week, you look up and think, wait, this is not what I meant. Not the logistics. You knew there would be logistics. I mean the feeling. I'm talking about the feeling. The one you had in your head back in May. The summer that felt different, more present, more like something you actually chose. That version. Because right now, it feels like summer just started happening to you, and you're already behind in it. If that's where you are right now, you're in exactly the right place. Because that gap between the summer you pictured and the summer that's actually happening, that's not a scheduling problem. That's a clarity problem. And that's what we're talking about today.
You're managing what you always do, but your brain feels scattered and you just can't seem to pull it together. The Busy Brain Do-Over from Steady State Co. is your space to recover, reset, and restart, proud of how you show up again. Because you're not the problem, and you're not alone. Here, you'll find real tools and honest conversations to help you feel capable, steady, and like yourself again. Here's your host, Candace David, a fellow busy brain who believes life doesn't have to run perfectly to run well.
Here's what I want you to understand about that feeling you had back in May. The one where summer felt like it was going to be good. That feeling was real. It wasn't wishful thinking. It wasn't you being naive about how busy your life is. It was your brain doing something completely natural. When you're deep in the hardest stretch of the year, the end of school chaos, the work pile up, the mental load of coordinating everything for everyone, your brain starts generating this image of what's coming next. A softer season. Something that feels like yours. And that image gets more vivid the more exhausted you are. More present mornings, a summer that actually feels like summer. That image feels so real, so specific, that your brain starts treating it like a plan, like you've already decided something, except you haven't. Because a feeling is not the same as a decision. And a feeling cannot answer a single question summer is about to ask you. Should you say yes to hosting the 4th of July cookout your neighbor just texted you about? Does the DIY project in the garage, the one that was supposed to take a weekend, get more of your time this week or not? When your kid is bored on a Wednesday and you have 2 hours of work left, what do? Your summer feeling cannot answer any of those questions. So what happens instead is your days answer them for you. And days without direction default to whatever has the most momentum. The coordination that already has a group chat. The work that already has a deadline. The project that already has supplies sitting in your garage staring at you. And you just keep moving through summer. Doing real things. Busy things. Even good things sometimes. But none of it was chosen. None of it was pointed at anything. And then you look up and it's mid-July. And your brain does this thing where it starts doing the math. How many weeks are left? How much of the summer has already passed? And that quiet feeling comes back. This still isn't what I meant. Not because you did summer wrong, because your brain never had anything specific enough to navigate by. You had a hope. What you needed was an anchor. And an anchor is different from a hope because an anchor can actually do something. It can tell you what to say yes to. It can tell you what to let go of. It can be the thing you come back to in mid-July when the summer has gotten loud and you've lost the thread. A hope just sits there waiting to be felt. An anchor guides you. Okay, actually, we know like an anchor will stop a boat, a vessel from moving, but just humor me, okay? That's what today's do-over is about. Before I walk you through the do-over for this moment, quick question. Are you driving, folding laundry, or doing like 12 other things while you're listening right now? Yeah, same. So instead of trying to remember everything from this episode, I made you a one-page do-over download. Just go to mybusybrain.com/join and I'll send it straight to your inbox. All right, let's walk through the do-over for this moment. This do-over is called the Summer Anchor Do-Over, and it does one thing in 3 steps. It takes the feeling you have about summer, that vague, warm image of what you want it to be, and turns it into something specific enough to actually navigate by. Not a plan, not a schedule, an anchor. I probably could have used a compass, but I went with an anchor, so here we go. Step 1, name your anchor. I want you to ask yourself one question. When I look back at this summer in September, how do I want to feel about it? Not what do you want to have done? Not what do you want your kids to remember? How do you want to feel? And then I want you to find one word, maybe 2, but really try for 1. Here's why that matters. When summer gets loud, and it will, your brain is going to be operating under load. Juggling the schedule, the asks, the decisions, the mental math of managing everything for everyone, and a brain under that kind of load cannot sort through a list. It can't weigh 5 competing intentions against each other in the middle of a Tuesday afternoon. But it can hold one word. One word is what actually surfaces when everything else is noise. So we go simple on purpose. Your brain needs something it can actually find when things get hard. Some examples of what this might look like: rested, present, connected, unhurried. Whatever word lands truest for you, write it down. That's your anchor. That's the thing your summer is for. Step 2, find one small action. Now take that word and ask yourself, what is one small specific thing I could actually do this summer that moves me towards that feeling? Not the big version, you guys, not the version that requires a perfect week or a fully cleared calendar or everyone cooperating and having good attitudes on the same day, okay? We want one small thing, something that could happen on a regular Thursday. So if your word is rested, maybe the small action is one morning a week where your phone stays face down until after you have your first cup of coffee. Not a whole morning routine, okay? Not a 6 a.m. wake up and a journaling practice. Just one morning, phone face down, coffee first. If your word is present, maybe the small action is that when your kid starts talking to you, you physically turn toward them instead of answering while you're still looking at something else, like your phone. That's it. That's small. If your word is connected, maybe it's one meal a week where you actually sit down with the people in your house instead of eating in 2 shifts because everyone is always coming and going. And I want to tell you why we go this small on purpose, because it's not only about being realistic. It's about designing something your brain can execute from a depleted state. Motivation is not a reliable resource in the middle of summer, or kind of ever. Some weeks you'll have it. A lot of weeks you won't. But small actions don't require motivation. They don't require a good week or a rested brain or the stars aligning. They're designed to be doable even when you're running on empty, which means they survive the hard weeks. They survived the week the camp schedule fell apart. They survived the week work got loud again. They survived the week the DIY project took over the entire garage and several Saturdays along with it. A big, elaborate plan for feeling rested or present or connected will not survive those weeks. A small, specific action will. Write it down next to your anchor word. Step 3, make it your filter. This last step is the one that makes the first two actually matter. Take your anchor word and put it somewhere you will genuinely see it. Not in your planner, not in a note buried in your phone. Have you been paying attention? Not those two places. Somewhere your eyes land during a regular day. The fridge, your bathroom mirror, a sticky note on your car dashboard. Because here's what's going to happen. Summer is going to ask you things. A lot of things. It's going to ask you to host something, to coordinate something, to say yes to one more thing because the calendar technically has a gap in it. And in those moments, your brain is going to be making that decision under pressure with limited time, limited energy. Someone will probably be waiting on the answer from you. That is the worst possible condition for making a good call. And that's exactly why the filter has to already exist before the moment arrives. When you see your anchor word, before the ask even happens, your brain already has an answer ready. You don't have to weigh it from scratch. You don't have to calculate whether you can afford it or whether you'll regret it. You just ask one question. Does this move me closer to my anchor or further from it? If saying yes moves you closer, then say yes. If it doesn't, you have something to stand on when you say no, or not yet, or let me think about it. Your anchor is not a guilt trip. It's not a report card for how well you summered. It's just a compass. And compasses don't judge you for taking a wrong turn. They just quietly show you which way is north. So when you lose the thread, and you will, you come back to the word. You come back to the small action, and you keep going from there. That's the summer anchor do-over. Here's your permission slip for the summer. You don't need a perfect summer. You don't need a color-coded family calendar or a bucket list with 32 items on it or a summer that looks good in a recap post. You just need to know what you're pointing at. One word, maybe two. Something true enough that you'd feel it if it happened. And something small enough to actually do. Because a summer with one real anchor in it is a different kind of summer than one that just happened to you. It's a summer where at least some of it was chosen. At least some of it was yours. And when you get to September, even if the DIY project is still unfinished, even if the trip you planned got complicated, even if half of July looked nothing like you intended it to, you'll be able to point to something and say, that was on purpose. I chose that. That's not a small thing. That's the whole thing. Hey, before I let you go, I want you to know that this is the last episode for the summer. I'm taking these next few months to do some things behind the scenes, and I'm really excited about what I'm bringing back when I return. So enjoy your summer. and I hope you find at least one thing in it that feels like yours. Talk soon. If today's do-over hit home for you, would you like me to send it to you? Every episode of the show comes with a one-page do-over download, a simple guide that walks you through the reset we talked about today. So instead of trying to remember the steps later, you'll have it right there whenever your brain needs a reset. Just go to mybusybrain.com/join and I'll send it straight to your inbox. All right, my fellow busy brain friends, take a breath, give yourself a little grace, and remember, you can always start again. That's what a do-over really is. Not perfection, just permission. Talk soon.